The command bridge of the Confederation flagship Arbiter was filled with a hushed tension. 30 distinct alien species, delegates from every corner of the Galactic Confederation, watched the main view screen. What played out before them challenged every preconceived notion they held about warfare, technology, and the very nature of intelligent life. "Replay that last sequence," commanded Ambassador Thalassa, her usually vibrant cerulean skin now a muted gray. "I need absolute certainty in what we're witnessing." The footage depicted a small human research station, a collection of simple, interconnected modules orbiting innocuously in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Its solar arrays, like metallic petals, slowly turned towards the distant sun. The timestamp indicated the recording was just 3 standard days old. Without warning, a squadron of Korgan pirate vessels, their distinctive crimson hulls glinting maliciously, materialized from the void. The Korgan were infamous throughout the galaxy, merciless raiders known for preying on the weak and isolated. Their energy weapons struck with surgical precision, disabling the station's primary defense systems in mere moments. "Standard Korgan opening gambit," observed military advisor Vorlog, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. Nothing unforeseen there. The subsequent events, however, caused a ripple of unease to spread through the Confederation observers. Instead of surrendering, as any rational species would when faced with such overwhelming force, the humans fought back. Captain Anya Sharma appeared on the station's communication channel, her face etched with grim determination, devoid of any discernible fear. "All personnel, battle stations. This is not a drill. Initiate protocol, Dragonfly." The Confederation watched, utterly transfixed, as the seemingly outmatched humans sprang into action. Security teams moved with astonishing speed, donning basic pressure suits and arming themselves. "Their technology is rudimentary," whispered Science Officer Zareth, her crystalline tendrils quivering. "Those are kinetic projectile weapons propelled by chemical reactions. They cannot possibly breach energy shields." Yet the humans did something utterly unexpected. When the first Korgan boarding party sliced through an airlock, Lieutenant Marcus Vance and his security team didn't directly engage them. Instead, they deliberately vented atmosphere from adjacent sections, creating powerful, chaotic air currents that flung the Korgan off balance in the zero-gravity environment. "Clever," tactical expert Lyran grudgingly conceded. "They're weaponizing their environment." The footage continued. In engineering, Chief Engineer Lena Petrova worked at a frenetic pace, rerouting power systems while explaining her plan. "If we can overload the electromagnetic pulse generators and trigger them simultaneously, we might disable their ship systems temporarily. But that will fry our own non-essential systems too," protested her assistant. Petrova grimly nodded. Better fried than dead. Ambassador Thalassa paused the recording. "Note this behavior. The humans willingly damage their own technology as a tactical choice. No Confederation species would consider such a trade-off." The footage resumed. Outside the station, a tiny maintenance craft, piloted by Flight Officer Kai Lee, approached one of the Korgan ships from its blind spot. The vessel was never designed for combat, yet Lee maneuvered it with extraordinary precision. "What is she doing?" asked one of the younger Confederation observers. "That craft has no weapons." They soon had their answer. Lee positioned her vessel near the Korgan ship's main sensor array and released a cloud of metallic particles, simple maintenance waste repurposed as a weapon. The particles adhered to the sensors, effectively blinding the pirate vessel. In another section of the station, Dr. Elias Thorne, the lead researcher, frantically downloaded the station's scientific data while instructing his team, Get to the escape pods. Take the backup drives. If we're captured, remember, give them outdated information. Make them think our technology is even more primitive than it is." The footage shifted to show the station's medical bay, where Dr. Sofia Rostova treated the wounded while the battle raged. When a section near her position was breached, she calmly moved her patients to safety, using her own body as a shield against debris. "Their disregard for personal safety defies logical analysis," commented psychologist Jorik. "They prioritize group survival over individual survival." The most disturbing footage came next. Station Security Chief John Chen led a direct boarding action against the smallest Korgan vessel. Armed with their primitive weapons and wearing only basic pressure suits, 6 humans managed to fight their way onto the alien ship. "Impossible," muttered several observers simultaneously. But it wasn't impossible. The humans moved with a coordination that suggested extensive training for scenarios they had never actually experienced. They used hand signals when radio communication might be detected. They employed simple mechanical traps rather than detectable electronic ones. When they encountered Korgan resistance, they didn't retreat despite taking casualties. Officer Chen was struck by an energy blast that severely burned his arm, yet he continued leading his team, applying a simple medical patch and pressing forward. The final moments of the recording showed the humans gaining control of the Korgan ship's bridge. Rather than killing the pirate captain, Chen offered terms. "Withdraw your remaining ships and we let your crew live. Continue this fight and none of you will survive." The Korgan captain, cheerily shocked by the turn of events, agreed. Ambassador Thalassa stopped the recording. The conference room remained silent for several moments as the implications sank in. "This changes our assessment," she finally said. "We classified humans as Category 3 primitive beings, suitable for eventual resource harvesting. This was clearly an error." Military advisor Vorlog nodded slowly. "They lack our technology, but their tactical thinking is unsettling. They improvise, they adapt, they sacrifice. They continue fighting when our probability models would indicate surrender as the only logical choice." "Most concerning," added psychologist Jorik, "is their apparent lack of fear." "No, that's not quite right. They feel fear. Their biological signs indicate it, but they act despite their fear." Ambassador Thalassa stood up, her tall frame casting a long shadow across the room. "We must revise our first contact protocols immediately. If this is how humans respond to a small pirate raid, imagine their response to any perceived threat from the Confederation." The implications hung heavy in the air. The Galactic Confederation had encountered many species across the stars, but none quite like these humans. "And this was just one small outpost," whispered Science Officer Zareth. "There are billions of them on their home planet." The recording had shown only a minor skirmish, but it was enough to send a clear message. Humans were not to be underestimated. The real horror for the watching aliens was not what they had seen, but what it suggested about human potential if fully mobilized for war. "Contact Earth's United Nations immediately," ordered Ambassador Thalassa. "We need to accelerate diplomatic relations. These humans must be allies, not enemies."
3 days after the attack on the research station, the Galactic Confederation observation post orbiting Jupiter received an urgent transmission from their homeworld. Ambassador Thalassa studied the message with growing concern before addressing the crew gathered in the command center. "The Korban Horde has taken our analysis of human combat capabilities as a challenge," she said, her normally smooth voice rough with worry. "They are planning a larger attack on the human lunar colony. Their high commander believes the previous encounter was merely luck." Science Officer Zareth shook her head, causing her crystalline tendrils to sway gently. That is a dangerous miscalculation. What we observed was not luck, it was adaptability. The Confederation observation post's long-range sensors detected the Korgon fleet 2 hours later. 50 warships, considerably larger than the pirate vessels from the previous attack, moved into position near Earth's moon. Their crimson hulls gleamed against the blackness of space as they approached the lunar colony, home to over 5,000 humans. Military advisor Vorlog activated the post's advanced surveillance systems. "We will record everything. The Council must see the human response." On the lunar surface, alarms blared throughout the domed habitats. Colonel Lena Petrova of the Lunar Defense Force received the first alert. The tall, broad-shouldered officer immediately activated the colony's emergency protocols and opened a communication channel to Earth. "Unidentified vessels approaching lunar orbit. Configuration matches the hostiles from the asteroid belt incident. We are implementing defensive measures and request immediate support." Earth's response was immediate. Admiral Jian Chen, commander of Earth's United Defense Fleet, appeared on the screen. His graying hair was pulled back in a tight bun, his expression firm. "Support is on the way, Colonel. Hold them off until we arrive." The Confederation observers watched with growing unease as the humans prepared for battle. What surprised them most was the lack of panic. Civilians moved to designated shelter areas, while defense personnel took positions with practiced efficiency. Their behavior suggests they have prepared for this scenario. Yet, prior to the asteroid belt attack, they had never encountered hostile aliens. Security Chief Lyron nodded. They prepare for threats they have not yet faced. Most species only develop defenses after experiencing an attack. On the lunar surface, Dr. Aris Thorne, the colony's chief engineer, directed her team to activate a system that had never been tested in actual combat. "Power up the seismic disruption emitters," she ordered. "If they try to land forces, we can destabilize their ground vehicles and structures." One of her assistants looked worried. "But that will create massive tremors across the colony." Dr. Thorne smiled grimly. "We've hardened our essential structures against seismic shock, and we know how to operate in a shaking environment if necessary. I doubt the Korgon do." The Korgon fleet began their attack with a series of overwhelming energy weapon barrages aimed at the colony's main power facility. The humans had anticipated this tactic. The visible power generators were actually decoys, with the real power systems buried deep beneath the lunar surface. Colonel Petrova's voice came through the colony's communication system. "All units, implement Operation Skyfall. Fighter squadrons, you are cleared for launch." The Confederation observers watched in astonishment as hidden hangar doors opened across the lunar surface. Small, angular fighter craft emerged, their minimalist profiles making them notoriously difficult to target. "Those craft do not match any known human design in our records," said Ambassador Thalassa. "They must have been developing them in secret." Lieutenant Kai Li led the first squadron of fighters. His voice was calm as he addressed his pilots. "Remember your training. They have better weapons, but we have better pilots. Use the moon's low gravity and rugged terrain to your advantage." The human fighters executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, using the moon's cratered surface as cover and emerging to fire quick bursts from their newly integrated plasma railguns before disappearing again. The Korgon ships, designed for broad space combat, struggled to track the nimble human vessels in the chaotic environment close to the lunar surface. When one Korgon ship descended too low in pursuit, Dr. Thorne triggered the seismic disruption emitters. A ripple of controlled shockwaves tore through the lunar crust. The alien vessel's ground-based navigation systems, now overwhelmed by the constant tremors, spiraled out of control and crashed into a deep crater. From Earth, Admiral Chen's defense fleet approached. It was a hastily assembled collection of military vessels and retrofitted civilian ships. By Confederation standards, it should have been no match for the 50 Korgon warships, but the aliens were beginning to learn that human standards were different. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Remember your training and stick to the plan. The Korgon have superior technology, but we have surprise on our side. They don't know what we've been preparing. The Earth fleet split into 3 groups as they approached the Moon. The largest group engaged the Korgon fleet directly, while a smaller, faster group circled behind to attack from the rear. The third group, consisting of the smallest vessels, remained in reserve. A classic pincer maneuver, commented military advisor Vorlog. Basic, but effective. When the battle was fully joined, the humans revealed their surprise. The small reserve vessels launched what appeared to be simple metallic containers towards the Korgon ships. The containers attached to the hulls and then released clouds of nanobots, tiny machines that began eating through the alien vessels' sensor arrays and weapon systems. Nanoscale warfare, whispered Science Officer Zareth. We thought they were decades away from such technology. Captain Anya Sharma commanded one of Earth's largest vessels. When her ship took a direct hit that damaged the bridge, she remained at her post, despite a serious injury to her arm. Keep firing, she ordered her crew. We need to hold them until the nanobots do their job. The Korgon commander, realizing his force was in danger of being defeated, ordered his remaining ships to target the lunar colony directly. If they couldn't win, they would at least cause massive civilian casualties. Colonel Petrova saw the threat immediately. Without hesitation, she ordered the colony's last line of defense activated, a prototype energy shield that covered the main habitat domes. The power requirements were enormous, forcing the colony to shut down all other systems. In the darkness of the powered-down colony, Medical Officer Dr. Elias Thorne continued performing surgery on an injured defender, working by the light of chemical lamps and relying on manual instruments when the electronic ones failed. Almost like field medicine in the old days, he commented to his assistant as they worked. My grandfather was a combat medic. He taught me to be ready for anything. The battle reached its climax when the nanobots finally disabled the weapons on the Korgon flagship. Admiral Chen offered terms of surrender, which the Korgon commander grudgingly accepted. In the Confederation observation post, Ambassador Thalassa watched the conclusion of the battle with a mixture of relief and deep concern. The Council must see this immediately, she said. We must reevaluate everything we thought we knew about humans. What troubles you most, Ambassador? Asked Pysologist Jorik. Thalassa gestured toward the view screen, where Admiral Chen's fleet was securing the captured Korgon vessels. Not just their victory against superior technology, but how they achieved it. They combined ancient tactics with innovative technology. They prepared for threats they had never encountered, and most disturbing of all, she paused, they fight harder when protecting others than when protecting themselves.
News of the lunar battle spread quickly through the Galactic Confederation. The Emergency Council meeting on the Confederation homeworld drew representatives from all 30 member species. Ambassador Thalassa presented the battle footage with commentary from her observation team. When the presentation ended, High Counselor Xylos, the eldest of the Arcturan species, broke the stunned silence. In all my 500 cycles, I have never witnessed such disturbing combat behavior. The humans should not have won either engagement, said Defense Minister Valerius. Their technology is primitive compared to Korga weaponry, yet they prevailed twice. Tactical analyst Kira brought up a holographic display showing human battle formations. They use strategies developed for their ancient ocean warfare. They adapt old ideas to new environments instead of developing proper space combat doctrine. Ambassador Thalassa nodded, and that is precisely why they are dangerous. They think differently than we do. They do not follow expected patterns. While the Confederation Council debated, the Korgan horde was planning its revenge. High Commander Vorlog addressed his war council aboard their massive flagship, his crimson scales flushed darker with anger as he spoke. "Twice we have been humiliated by these primitive beings," he growled. "No more testing, no more small engagements. We will launch a full attack on their homeworld. The humans will learn what it means to challenge the Korgan horde." On Earth, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Admiral Zhan Chen presented her analysis of the two battles against the Korgan. President Elara Stone listened carefully before addressing the gathered representatives. "We've won 2 battles, but this is not over," she said firmly. "Our intelligence suggests the Korgan are preparing a much larger attack. We need to be ready." Defense Minister Marcus Vance stood up. "We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact with the Vidian last year. Operation Skyguard is ready to implement." In orbit around Earth, civilian space stations were quickly converted to military use. Engineers worked around the clock to install weapon systems that had been designed years earlier but never deployed. Captain Anya Sharma supervised the transformation of Space Station Beacon, the largest human habitat in orbit. "I need those plasma cannon platforms operational in 12 hours, she told her engineering team. "The early warning system indicates the Korgan are already on the move." Dr. Lena Petrova, head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Research, unveiled her secret project to the military leadership. "We call it the Swarm," she explained, showing them footage of thousands of small autonomous drones. Each unit is simple, but together they can overwhelm complex defense systems by sheer numbers. General Elias Thorne frowned. "Have they been tested in combat?" Dr. Petrova shook her head. "Not in actual combat, but the simulations are promising." "Good enough," said General Thorne. "Get them ready for deployment." The Confederation observation post detected the approaching Korgan fleet 3 days later. Ambassador Thalassa immediately sent warning to the Council. 150 warships detected. This is no longer a border skirmish. This is an invasion force. Psychologist Yorick looked troubled. "Should we warn the humans?" Military advisor Vorlog shook his head. "Our directive is clear. We observe only. We must not interfere." But Ambassador Thalassa had been studying human behavior. "I believe they already know." She was right. Earth's early warning system, a network of stealth satellites extending to the edge of the solar system, had detected the Korgan fleet. Admiral Zhan Chen addressed the combined Earth Defense Forces from her command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. "This is what we've been preparing for," she said, her voice calm and determined. "The Korgan believe their superior technology guarantees victory. They're wrong. What they have in technology, we will match with ingenuity and determination." Colonel Kai Li led the first line of defense, a fleet of seemingly unarmed transport vessels positioned in the path of the approaching Korgan fleet. When the alien fleet came within range, the transports deployed their cargo, thousands of space mines disguised as interstellar debris. The Korgan advance guard hit the minefield first. Explosions rippled across the front of their formation, disabling 5 ships and damaging several others. The main fleet slowed, giving Earth's defenders precious time. Captain Sofia Rostova commanded the stealth vessel Spectre. Her mission was to get close enough to the Korgan flagship to deploy Dr. Petrova's swarm. As her ship slipped between the massive alien vessels, she spoke quietly to her nervous crew. "Steady, everyone. We've trained for this. They can't see us if we maintain our current speed and trajectory." In the Confederation observation post, the aliens watched with growing disbelief. Science Officer Zareth pointed to her sensor readings. "The humans have developed functional stealth technology. They're using sensor-absorbing materials we thought were beyond their metallurgical capabilities." The action escalated quickly. Earth's main defense fleet engaged the Korgan in Jupiter's orbit. The human vessels were outnumbered and outgunned, but they used the giant gas's powerful gravity and radiation belts to their advantage. Fighter squadrons led by Marcus Vance drew Korgon ships into tight pursuit courses that brought them dangerously close to Jupiter's crushing atmosphere. "Pull up at the last possible second," Marcus Vance instructed his pilots. "Their ships are heavier than ours. They can't pull out of the dive as quickly." 3 Korgon cruisers were lost to Jupiter's gravity before they changed tactics. Meanwhile, Captain Rostova's Spectre had reached its target. "Deploy the swarm," she ordered. Thousands of small drones poured from her ship's cargo bay, heading toward the Korgon flagship. Each drone was barely larger than a human hand, but carried a small explosive charge and sophisticated targeting systems. The Korgon, used to defending against large weapons, were unprepared for this form of attack. Their point defense systems were overwhelmed by the sheer number of tiny targets. The drones penetrated the Korgon flagship's outer defenses and targeted its sensor arrays, weapon systems, and engine controls. High Commander Vorlog roared in anger as his bridge displays went dark. "What is happening? Some kind of small attack drones. They're everywhere. Our systems are failing." In the Confederation observation post, the aliens watched the innovative attack with a mixture of horror and fascination. Military advisor Vorlog shook his head in disbelief. "They're using a biological model for warfare," he exclaimed, "like insect swarms from their planet. No civilized species would consider such a tactic." "It's primitive, yet effective," noted Ambassador Thalassa. The tide of battle turned as the crippled Korgon flagship lost coordination with the rest of the fleet. Admiral Zhan Chen seized the opportunity and ordered her reserve forces into action. The Earth fleet executed a complex maneuver, encircling a portion of the disorganized Korgon forces and forcing their surrender. High Commander Vorlog, seeing his invasion plan collapsing, ordered the remaining ships to target Earth directly. "If we cannot conquer them, we will make them suffer." But Earth had one final layer of defense. As the Korgon ships approached, a network of ground-based energy weapons activated. The system, hidden beneath what appeared to be ordinary astronomical observatories, fired precisely targeted energy beams at the approaching vessels. In his command bunker, Defense Minister Marcus Vance watched the system perform exactly as designed. "Checkmate," he said quietly. In the Confederation observation post, Ambassador Thalassa turned to her colleagues. "We have grossly underestimated these humans," she said solemnly. "They are not just fighting for survival, they are fighting for each other, and that makes them more dangerous than we ever imagined." The aftermath of the failed Korgon invasion brought a tense quiet to the solar system. Earth's defense forces remained on high alert as they secured captured alien vessels and tended to the wounded. In orbit, repair crews worked to fix damaged stations and ships. On the ground, people celebrated their victory, but government and military leaders knew the danger was far from over. At the Confederation observation post, Ambassador Thalassa prepared a detailed report for the Council. The data they had gathered during the battle was unlike anything in Confederation records. Military advisor Vorlog reviewed the footage again, focusing on specific human tactics. "They use deception constantly," he noted. "Fake retreats, false targets, hidden weapons. No honorable species fights this way." Science Officer Zareth disagreed. "It's not about honor for them, it's about survival and protecting each other." Psychologist Jorik had been studying human communications intercepted during the battle. "Listen to this," she said, playing a recording of radio chatter between fighter pilots. "My engines are hit. I'm losing power," said one pilot, his voice strained but controlled. "Hang on, Ace. I'm coming to get you," responded another pilot immediately. "Negative, Rook. Too risky. Complete the mission." "Not leaving you out here, buddy. Squadron, cover me. I'm going in." Jorik stopped the recording. This pattern repeats throughout their communications. They risk mission success to save individuals. It defies rational combat logic. On Earth, Admiral Zhan Chen met with her command staff to assess the situation. The room was filled with tired but determined officers. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing the positions of remaining Korgon forces and Earth's defenses. The invasion has been repelled, but we're not safe yet. 17 Korgon ships escaped. Intelligence suggests they're regrouping at a base beyond Neptune. The Carvel Petrova, head of military intelligence, brought up new satellite images. We've identified unusual energy signatures. They appear to be calling for reinforcements. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Then we can't wait for them to attack again. We need to take the fight to them. Defense Minister Marcus Vance looked concerned. Our ships took heavy damage. We need time to repair and regroup. Time is what we don't have, Admiral Chen replied. If we let them gather their forces, the next attack will be overwhelming. President Ilara Stone listened to the debate before making her decision. Admiral, prepare an offensive operation. We need to strike before they recover. In the captured Korgon flagship, now docked at Earth's largest orbital station, Dr. Sofia Rostova led a team studying alien technology. The ship's vast command center was filled with human engineers and scientists, carefully examining every system. Their weapons are at least 50 years ahead of ours, Dr. Rostova reported to General Elias Thorne. But their computer systems are vulnerable to certain types of electronic attacks. They never developed proper security protocols. General Thorne nodded. Can we use that? Absolutely, Dr. Rostova replied, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. Dr. Rostova's assistant, Alex Mercer, looked up from a console. We've cracked their communication codes. We can listen to everything they say, and they won't know it. In their hidden base beyond Neptune, the Korgon survivors licked their wounds. Subcommander K. Klar, now in charge after High Commander Vorlog's capture, addressed his captains. Our forces are coming, he assured them. 3 battle fleets will arrive within 7 rotations. Then we will crush these humans and avenge our defeat. What the Korgon didn't know was that every word was being monitored by Earth's intelligence services. Colonel Lena Petrova played the intercepted communications for the military council. 7 rotations gives us about 10 days, she explained. Not much time to prepare. Captain Anya Sharma, whose stealth ship had played a crucial role in the previous battle, proposed a daring plan. We don't need to wait for their reinforcements to arrive. My ship can deliver a small strike team to their base. We can deploy Dr. Rostova's virus directly into their communication network. Admiral Chen considered the plan. It's risky. If you're detected that far out, there's no chance of rescue. Captain Sharma stood tall. We understand the risks, Admiral. We volunteer. The Confederation observers detected unusual activity as Earth prepared its counterstrike. Ambassador Thalassa watched with growing alarm as a single human vessel slipped away from Earth's defensive perimeter and headed towards the outer solar system. They're not waiting to be attacked again, she realized. They're taking the offensive. Military advisor Vorlog studied the ship's profile. That's their stealth vessel. A single ship against the remaining Korgon force. That's suicide. Perhaps, said Ambassador Thalassa, or perhaps it's something we don't understand yet. The Spectre moved through space like a ghost, its advanced stealth systems hiding it from Korgon sensors. Captain Sharma and her crew maintained strict silence as they approached the enemy base. With her was a small team of specialists, led by Lieutenant Ben Carter, an expert in electronic warfare. We'll have one chance at this, Lieutenant Carter told his team as they prepared their equipment. Once we deploy the virus, we'll have 3 minutes to get back to the ship before they detect us. The Korgon base, constructed from the remains of several damaged ships, orbited a small moon. Security was minimal. The Korgon believed themselves safely hidden and were focusing their resources on repairs. This overconfidence would be their undoing.
The Spectre approached the base from the dark side of the moon, using its natural cover. Once in position, Captain Sharma gave a simple order: launch the insertion team. Lieutenant Carter and 3 specialists left the ship in small one-person pods designed for absolute stealth. They navigated to a maintenance airlock on the outer ring of the Korgon base. Using tools reverse-engineered from captured Korgon technology, they bypassed the security systems and entered the base undetected. In the Confederation observation post, the aliens watched with astonishment. Science Officer Zareth could barely believe what she was seeing. They sent 4 individuals against an entire base. The probability of success is virtually 0. Inside the base, Lieutenant Carter's team moved with practiced precision. They located a central computer node and connected Dr. Rostova's device, a small, innocuous-looking box that immediately began uploading the virus into the Korgon network. 60 seconds, whispered Lieutenant Carter, watching the progress bar on his tablet. A Korgon patrol passed by. The humans froze, pressing themselves into shadows. The patrol passed without noticing them. 90 seconds, Lieutenant Carter updated. Almost there. The virus completed its upload. Immediately, Korgon systems throughout the base began to fail. Alarms sounded, but the emergency protocols activated by the virus sent the Korgon to the wrong sections of the base, away from the human infiltrators. Mission accomplished, Lieutenant Carter reported via a secure tight beam transmission. Returning to extraction point. The team made it back to their pods and launched just as the Korgon realized what had happened. By the time the aliens organized a proper response, the Spectre was already gone, slipping away into the vastness of space. In the Confederation observation post, the aliens were silent. Finally, Ambassador Thalassa spoke. They sent 4 individuals on what should have been a suicide mission. Those humans knew they might not return, yet they volunteered. "I do not understand," admitted military advisor Vorlog. "That," said Ambassador Thalassa, "is exactly what makes them so dangerous."
The virus deployed by Lieutenant Carter's team spread through the Korgon communication network with devastating efficiency. Not only did it cripple the systems at their base beyond Neptune, but it also transmitted false information to the approaching reinforcement fleets. The Korgon battle groups received coordinates that would scatter them across the solar system, making them easy targets for Earth's defense forces. In Earth's military headquarters, Admiral Jian Chen watched the data feeds with grim satisfaction. The virus is working. Their fleet is splitting up, just as we planned. President Ilara Stone studied the tactical display. How long until they realized they'd been tricked? "A few hours at most," replied Colonel Lena Petrova, "but by then it will be too late. We'll be waiting for them." Earth's fleet, bolstered with technology salvaged from captured Korgon vessels, moved into position. Ships that had been damaged in the previous battle were back in service, many with improvised repairs and hastily integrated alien weapons. Captain Anya Sharma, now commanding a hybrid vessel with both human and Korgon technology, addressed her nervous crew. "This ship might be a bit of a patchwork, but so is every great innovation in human history. We adapt, we improve, we survive." The first Korgon battle group arrived at the coordinates provided by the virus, expecting to rendezvous with their comrades. Instead, they found Earth's main battle fleet waiting for them. Before they could regroup or retreat, the human ships opened fire with weapons the Korgon didn't expect them to have. Captain Sofia Rostova commanded the lead attack group. "All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessels. Use the new targeting data. Their shields are weakest at the junction points." The Korgon ships, confused by the precise attacks targeting vulnerabilities they thought were unknown to humans, attempted to retreat, but the virus had also affected their navigation systems. Several ships collided in the chaos.
In the Confederation observation post, the aliens watched the battle unfold with growing concern. Military advisor Vorlag paced nervously. "This is unprecedented. The humans should not have this level of knowledge about Korgon technology." "They learn quickly," observed Ambassador Thalassa. "Too quickly." Science Officer Zareth analyzed the battle data. "They're not just using Korgon technology, they're improving it. Look here." She pointed to a human ship firing what appeared to be a modified version of a Korgon energy weapon. "They've increased the efficiency by 23%. The second and third Korgon battle groups arrived at different points in the solar system, each falling into separate traps. Some encountered minefields placed along their approach vectors. Others faced smaller, faster human attack squadrons that struck quickly and then retreated, drawing the aliens into pursuit courses that led directly into prepared ambushes. Major Marcus Vance led one such squadron near the rings of Saturn. "Just like we practiced. Hit and run. Draw them into the ring plane, then break off. The mines will do the rest." The Korgon ships, larger and less maneuverable than the human fighters, struggled to navigate the treacherous environment of ice particles and hidden explosives. 5 cruisers were destroyed before the others recognized the trap. Back on Earth, Dr. Sofia Rostova monitored the effectiveness of the virus. "It's starting to degrade," she reported. "Their systems are adapting faster than we anticipated." "How much longer will it be effective?" asked Defense Minister Marcus Vance. "Another hour, maybe less," Dr. Rostova replied. "After that, they'll be able to coordinate again." Admiral Jian Chen nodded. "Then we need to press our advantage now. All fleet commanders, accelerate your timetables. Don't give them a chance to regroup." The battles raged across the solar system, from the orbit of Mercury to the distant reaches beyond Neptune. Unlike the previous engagements, which had been defensive in nature, now the humans were on the offensive. They fought with a controlled aggression that stunned the watching Confederation observers. "There's a pattern to their attacks," noted tactical analyst Lyron, who had joined the observation team. "They're not trying to destroy the Korgon forces completely. They're hurting them, disorganizing them." Ambassador Thalassa studied the tactical display. "You're right. They're pushing all the surviving ships towards a single location. But why?" The answer became clear as the scattered Korgon vessels, retreating from multiple failed engagements, gathered near the orbit of Mars. Waiting for them was Earth's newest weapon, deployed for the first time: 6 colossal orbital defense platforms, arranged in a hexagonal pattern, activated powerful energy beams that connected to form a containment field. Dr. Elias Thorne, the lead scientist behind the project, explained to President Ilara Stone as they watched from the safety of Earth orbit. "The field is based on principles we learned from studying Korgon shield technology, but we've modified it. Instead of keeping things out, it keeps things in." The trapped Korgon ships fired desperately at the energy barrier, but their weapons had no effect. After several futile attempts to break free, the Korgon fleet commander opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Jian Chen received the transmission. The alien commander's scaled face filled the screen, his expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. "How is this possible? You are a primitive species. You should not have this technology." Admiral Chen's reply was calm. "We adapt. It's what humans do best." After a tense negotiation, the Korgon agreed to surrender terms. Their remaining ships would be allowed to leave the solar system with minimal crews, never to return. The rest of their personnel would remain as prisoners until formal peace terms could be arranged. The Korgon commander had little choice but to accept. In the Confederation observation post, Ambassador Thalassa finalized her report to the Council. The implications were clear and disturbing. Humans were not just another emerging species to be carefully guided into the galactic community. They represented something entirely new, a civilization that could absorb and improve upon advanced technology at an alarming rate and possessed a form of warfare unlike anything seen before.
"We must reassess everything," she told her colleagues. "The humans don't fight like us. They don't think like us. Traditional models of species development don't apply to them." Psychologist Jorick had been unusually quiet throughout the final battle. Now she spoke. "Do you know what disturbs me most? Not their adaptability or their unusual tactics. It's what they did after achieving victory." She brought up footage showing human medical teams treating wounded Korgon prisoners. "They fight with terrifying efficiency, but then they show mercy to the same beings who tried to destroy them. I cannot reconcile these behaviors." Military advisor Vorlag nodded slowly. "That is precisely what makes them dangerous." As Earth celebrated its victory, Admiral Jian Chen stood alone in her office, looking out at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, knowing what was out there. President Ilara Stone found her there and joined her at the window. "We've won," he said. "Earth is safe." Admiral Chen shook her head slightly. "For now. But we've revealed ourselves to the galaxy. The Korgon won't be the last aliens we encounter." "Are you concerned?" he asked. "No." She turned to face him. "I'm hopeful. We've proven something important today." "What's that?" "That humanity belongs among the stars. Not because we're peaceful or perfect, but because we're survivors. We adapt, we learn, and when necessary, we fight." Unknown to either of them, Ambassador Thalassa had come to the same conclusion. Her final recommendation to the Confederation Council was simple and direct. Do not engage humans in warfare. Offer them membership instead. Better to have these terrifying warriors as allies than as enemies.